Today I'm going to teach you how to iron your HFFK for the Australian Air Force Cadets. So step one in preparing your hat to be ironed is to take off the puggery. Basically just hold down your hat and pull off the puggery. Very simple, and that's step one complete. And so the next step in preparing your HFFK to be ironed is to make sure that the hat strap is inside the hat and not outside here on the brim. So if I make sure that the hat strap is on the brim, as you can see, my hands can slide under it with basically no resistance. And then that will, after you iron it, that will result in a hat being flat all around the sides here. But then up here, it will kind of be curved upwards almost because the hat strap's there. So all you really want to do is place your hat strap in there. And I like to really fast just put it down to make sure that it all keeps inside of the hat part there. So when you're ironing your hats, it's recommended that you put the iron on the wool setting. I like to put it just in the middle of the word wool, and that should be basically enough. So when you're picking your tea towel, try not to pick something like this. As you can see, this is really, really thick, and the heat and the steam won't exactly go through the material well and then into the hat. So that's not exactly good. Try and pick something a lot thinner, something like this tea towel here, like an old one. As you can see, it's really thin. It won't burn as well. So what you want to do with the tea towel is to get it and then run it under some water. So just put it in there, right in there for a second, very quickly. If it's dripping, squeeze it out a little bit. There you go. And all you do from there is just fold it like this. And then you're basically just ready to iron it now. Also, after you turn the iron on, make sure that you blast the steam out of it, because that gets all of the crap out of all of these little divots in there. As you can see, this is just some stuff that's come out. So make sure that you really make sure that you steam everything out of there. Alrighty, and so now all you need to do is just place your tea towel on your hat like this. Pretty simple. Steam up your iron, and then go across your tea towel just like this. Generally, I don't do it more. I don't iron the hat more than a few seconds. But sometimes if your hat is really out of shape, then you can do it for a bit more. As you can see, the hat here is starting to go what looks like it's burnt. But don't worry, it's not actually burnt. It's just the steam and water going into the hat, which is actually exactly what we want. Because hats can't be normally ironed like shirts or shorts. So the steam needs to go into them, unlike normal clothes. Because normal clothes, you just go over them and they're creased and they're nice and flat and crispy, right? But with hats, you need them to be floppy so you can put some heavy objects down them so you can actually mold the shape of the brim. So yeah, after you've done that, do it a few more times. Make sure you use lots of steam as well. And there you go, it's even darker now. So this will actually start getting super floppy around here. And basically just complete this process for all parts of the hat. Make sure that you don't do like the top part of the hat here, only the brim. That's very, very important. Also, don't have direct contact with the iron onto the hat if you can, because that will most likely burn the hat. But yeah, if you're worried that your hat starts to look like this, you might think it's burning. Don't worry, it's not burning. It's actually intentional for the whole process of ironing the HFFK. So don't worry about it and just keep going. But if you do smell burning, that's when you should probably stop, because you are most likely burning it. So check it and make sure that you're not burning anything. And also, when you're ironing your hat, try your best to iron in here as well. Because as you can see, when I press down the hat, this is actually the spot where the brim will mold to after you've ironed it. So if you can, try and get this as flat as possible, and also try and put as much steam as possible in there as well. So keep that in mind. But you know, obviously ironing it isn't actually going to make it flat. We do need to put heavy objects on it, and that will come later. And also try and get as much coverage as you can with all the steam and water. Also, right after you've done a round of ironing on your hat, the tea towel itself will be very hot. As you can see, it's steaming at the moment. So try not to like put your hand on it because it will be very hot. This has been sitting here for about 20 seconds, so it's kind of cooled down a little bit now, but it is still very hot. So just be wary of that as well. And obviously don't touch the iron, like the bottom of the iron. It's pretty simple stuff. Also make sure that after you've done like 2 sides of the hat, so like here and behind here, make sure that you also like reapply water to the tea towel, because the tea towel starts getting a bit dry since all the steam has gone up or into the hat. So just make sure that you're doing that as well. Okay, so now the molding process can begin, because we have now fully ironed all sides of the hat. So this part of the brim, this part of the brim, this part of the brim, and of course this part of the brim. So the final part of ironing your HFFK is the molding part. This is by far the easiest part. So all you do is you find a cool glass surface. So for example, I have this surface here. It's nice and flat and everything. If you have like one of those outdoor tables that has like little indents in the glass, don't use them because they will not work properly. So preferably this is like the prime example for a great surface. So all you do is put your hat down, make sure that your hat strap is not under any of the brim, and then just take some really heavy books. For example, I use some cookbooks. So, and just put them on every side of the brim. So make sure that, before you put your hat down, make sure that everything's like out of the way first. And so then for these sides here, I usually just put a couple of books, like just normal novel I don't know what size they are, like A5 books here, just that it really molds the shape. You don't have to do this, but it is strongly recommended because, if you have these 2 sides that are really flat and then, this part here underneath all these books and this part here down, it can look kind of funny. Oh yeah, and of course, you need to have this. This is like the most important thing. This is just here for extra. So this is extremely important, this one. Yeah, very, very important. Also, just as a side note, when you're using books to put down your HFFK to like a straight little brim, try your best not to use paperbacks like these on the bottom where it's wet, because the backs of these will get ruined. Actually, this one's pretty okay because it has like a glossy back. But if you have like an old style paperback book where where it is paper, then try not to use that. Try and use like a solid hard book or like one of these paperbacks that have a glossy finish, because then these won't get ruined usually. And so after you put all these down, usually wait about a day, maybe a day and a half, 2 days. If you want to go the extra mile, wait like 4 or 5 days. That'll make sure everything's really, really flat. But generally a rule I like to go by is that the hat is completely dry and it's all firmed up and stiff. Because right now our hat is super floppy because I just put a bunch of water and steam into it. And yeah, so that's how you iron your HFFK for the Australian Air Force Cadets.